Hi everyone, and welcome to Walk Away from the Workbook. If you're new here, my name is Nicole Seymour and I'm a developmental learning specialist from California. Welcome to the Number Sense series, episode 3, all about comparing numbers. When we compare numbers or different amounts, we are trying to determine which amount is more and which amount is less. And when we get more advanced at this, we are actually looking at how many more or how many less there are in certain amounts. For example, we can visually notice that 8 is more than 5, but when we have developed more of an understanding of number relationships, we know that 8 has 3 more than 5 or that 5 is 3 less than 8. What are some common errors that children make when they're first learning to compare numbers? If you have young children or you teach young children, the following errors that I'm going to describe will sound all too familiar. First, it's important to note that if children don't understand that smaller numbers are contained in larger numbers, comparing quantities is going to be much more challenging for them. When children first start counting, they believe that all numbers are distinct. So 7 is 7 and 9 is 9. They don't yet understand that 7 is contained within 9 when they count. So how does this relate to the errors that we commonly see when we ask children to compare numbers and quantities? Imagine seeing a set of 5 blocks in a row. When we ask children to add more to make a set of 7, one of the most common mistakes they make is creating a brand new quantity rather than adding on to what is already available. This can also happen when you ask a child to change a group of objects to be less. Let's use the same example. Imagine seeing that same set of 5 blocks. Let's say we ask children to change the quantity to 3. Rather than removing 2, they might build a separate group of 3. When we ask them how many blocks they have now, they will likely be surprised that the answer is 8. I mean, after all, they did exactly what we asked them, right? They made a group of 3. But they didn't quite see that all they had to do was remove 2 in order to get that group of 3. In their minds, those numbers are still distinct. 5 is 5 and 3 is 3. They're not yet connected, at least in their minds. This error becomes even more apparent when we move on to more complex questions, such as how many more do you have in this set? Even when children are able to successfully make a change to a quantity to match what we ask them to do, they still might answer this question incorrectly. If we use the 5 blocks in a row and ask children to change it to a group of 8, they might be able to add 3 more. But when asked, how many more does the set have now, they will likely say 8 more because 8 is the number where they knew they needed to stop. As an educator, this resonates with me so much. Whenever we use the word more to describe quantities, children are generally confused, and for very good reason. More usually means the bigger group, but in this sense, we are actually looking for the smaller group of objects. The vocabulary used makes this question incredibly difficult to understand. Try this with your child the next time you need to know how many more they have in a set. Instead of saying how many more, try saying how many extra objects are in this set. Using the word extra instead of the word more makes it more obvious what it is you're asking them to do. So what can we do to support our children if they're struggling to understand the concept that smaller numbers are contained within larger numbers? Luckily, there's a lot of very easy activities you can do to support them in this area. For this activity, you'll need some linker cubes. Line up 2 different amounts of cubes. Have your child count how many cubes are in each train. Then ask which train has more and which train has less. Ask how many extra cubes the longer train has. Do this with different quantities and make sure you change up the questions as you build. For this next one, you'll need dice and linker cubes. Roll the dice and build a tower to match the number of dots on the dice. Roll again and build a second tower right next to the first. You can ask your child the same questions you did in the cube train game to give them practice with comparing numbers and quantities. For this activity, you're going to need a deck of cards and a small collection of objects. You and your child will each draw a card. Then you will each build the quantity identified on the card. Make sure you take out the jack, the king, the queen, and the ace. Ask your child which group has more and which has less. Whoever turned over the card with more will get to keep both cards. Whoever has the most cards collected at the end of the game is the winner. You can also change the rules and have the person with the least amount on their card be the winner. It just depends on what you want your child to practice. All right, it's time to grab a dry erase board, marker, and eraser, a collection of objects, and some dice. Draw a specific number of circles on the dry erase board. Make sure these circles are big enough to house the objects that you have chosen to use for this activity. Have your child roll the dice and count out that number of objects. Each object will be placed on top of a circle you drew on the whiteboard. When they finish, ask them which group has more, the group of objects they counted or the group of objects you drew. You could also change the question to ask which group has less. For this last activity, we're going to construct a number line. Now, generally speaking, number lines are too abstract for young learners to help them conceptualize what's happening when they count up or count back from a given number. To help them with a visualization of what is happening, have them build a number of blocks to match each number on your number line. Ask them what they notice is happening to the amounts as they move up the line. This should help them conceptualize the idea that numbers go up or down by 1 as you count up or count back. So as you can see, there are a lot of opportunities and many activities that you can use at home or in your classroom to help support your children when they are learning to compare numbers. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it useful. If you're interested in seeing more from the Number Sense series, make sure you check out episodes 1 and 2, all about one-to-one correspondence and cardinality. You can find these videos on the Math series playlist on my channel. Until next time, have fun learning with your little ones. Bye!